Hello everyone, welcome to the Sixth Form Open Evening. I'm going to be talking you through the Religious Studies Open Evening and giving you some overview on what we study in RS, what opportunities RS can lead to in the future, and also why I believe that RS is a really interesting course to study. So my name is Miss Jones. Welcome on behalf of the whole department. At the moment, there are three of us in the department, so it's myself, Miss Channer and Miss Ladder. And I am subject leader for RS. So if you have got any issues at all, I would be someone that you would come to ask for help. And I have got my email address at the top of the slide here. Hopefully I will answer any questions that you have as I'm going through the PowerPoint, but if there are any questions that I don't answer, please do feel free to drop me an email anytime. I'm happy to answer any of the questions. So this presentation is going to cover the list of things down here. So we're going to look at the purposes and aims of religious studies. We will look at what the course will cover in terms of content. We will look at extracurricular opportunities, so anything that we feel you could get involved in the wider school. We will look at future opportunities in terms of where RS can take you for jobs or further education. We will look at qualification details, and then lastly, just some tips if you are interested in how to prepare for the A-level. So that's what I'm going to cover in the presentation. But like I said, if there is anything that you feel I've missed or just any questions that you've got, please feel free to drop me an email. First of all, I wanted to give you a little bit of information about myself and why I teach RS and why I think it's an important subject. So why study religion? What is the point of studying religion? For me, I hadn't done GCSE RS. At secondary school, unfortunately, I wasn't given many opportunities to study different religions. We just studied Christianity, and we didn't get opportunities to study other religions. So when I saw the A-level course, when I went to college, I was really excited because it meant that I could learn about different religions and people that were different to me. Because I grew up in a place where there were very similar people to me, there wasn't much diversity. So I was really interested to study it. And since then, I have gone on to complete a degree in theology, ethics and philosophy. I have obviously trained to become an RS teacher, and I completed my master's last year on teaching RS. So it's something that I'm very passionate about. Some of the reasons why I think this is an important subject: it helps you think critically about the world that we all live in. So as you get older, you will go into society and have to live with people that are different to you, whether that's working alongside different people, whether that's if you go to university, you might study alongside different people. So we are constantly coming into contact with people that have different viewpoints to us. And this A-level will really help you to understand and appreciate different people and different beliefs. It also allows you to think about the nature of human life and question human existence itself and the purpose of human life and why we are all here and our journey. And I think that that's also something that we perhaps don't get time to reflect on very much. So we look at moral questions like, is abortion okay? Is that a moral thing to do? We look at things like, is experimenting on animals a moral thing to do? Or how should we treat the environment? And these are really important questions that we don't always have time to ask when we're busy. And RS gives you time to ask those questions and think about different people's responses. I would also say that RS helps you to develop transferable skills that are useful in a wide range of jobs and other subjects. And I will talk more about that later on, but generally it gives you a lot of transferable skills. It gives you literacy skills because religion is complicated and there's no easy answer in terms of understanding religion. It involves reading scripture, it involves reading what philosophers have said. So it really helps you with your reading and writing. And the last thing is that I think, maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I think that it's a really, really engaging subject. And speaking to my students, I know that they would agree, even if they have found it hard at times. It is a really interesting subject. it's not boring, because you are always discussing different complicated ideas and reflecting on people's opinions. So there's a lot of discussion. In terms of what you can expect in your lessons, as I've just said, there's a lot of discussion and debate. I personally believe that the best way to teach RS is through discussion. That doesn't mean that we just talk every lesson. There will obviously be lessons that involve independent learning, where you will be researching different areas in groups or individually. There will be times where, you know, we set you an essay and you'll be working on an essay. But generally in our lessons, I feel that discussion and debate is very important, because if you're looking at something like experimenting on animals, for example, that is something that you have to talk through, and we have to look at different people's perspectives and discuss it as a class. You can expect challenging lessons. You know, these are complex ideas, and they might, like I said, they might be things you don't normally think about. So they're challenging ideas, and we want you to feel challenged in the lessons. We do not want anyone to come and sit back in the lesson. We want everybody involved. We want everybody contributing to discussion, and it should be something that we do together as a whole class rather than just on our own. Okay. So that's what you can expect in lessons. In terms of what you study, there are 3 papers that you study. So you study the philosophy paper, the religion and ethics paper, and the Sikh paper. And the exam board that we follow is the Edexcel course, and it's the 2016 course for Edexcel. So I've just given you a link here in case you wanted to go away and look at it a bit more in terms of all the topics that it covers. So please feel free to look at that. But those are the 3 papers that we study. And I teach them we teach them 50% each year. So in year 12, you will study half of each paper. And in year 13, you will study the rest of each paper, okay? And then in year 13, like I said, you study the second part of the papers, as well as revising previous content that we have already covered, okay? I just wanted to, first of all, give you some examples of topics that we study in each paper. The first one is philosophy, and I've just given you an example of one of my favourite topics from philosophy, which is the problem of evil and suffering. And I think that this is a really interesting topic, because what we're looking at is, why is there so much evil and suffering? And if there is a God that is all-loving, all-powerful, and all-knowing, then God surely should be able to stop suffering in the world, and surely God should want to stop suffering. So it's quite a heated debate normally in lessons, where we're really considering different points of view. And I know that students really enjoy this topic, because we get to look at you know, really interesting ideas. We do look at some quite emotional stuff. So we look at things like the Holocaust, and we look at trying to understand why these things happen, which, like I said, isn't something that you might think about normally. So that's an example from philosophy. For medical ethics, this would be an example. So we look at things like abortion. We look at things like euthanasia, which is helping somebody to end their life. We look at things like stem cell research. We look at embryo research. So we debate the ethics of using medicine and advances in medical technology. And we're thinking about whether these things are ultimately moral, whether we should do them. Okay. This is an example topic from the Sikh paper. The Sikh paper involves looking at a lot of Indian history, but you also look at Sikh scripture, and you look at the lives of the Sikh gurus as well, and how the religion developed in Indian society, starting with the first guru, Guru Nanak Dev Ji. So that's what we look at. It is a crossover with history. What I would say is, if you haven't studied Sikhism before, please don't worry. I don't want anyone to be put off taking it if they haven't done Sikhism. We do teach you this very carefully. We make sure that we guide you through the content. We don't just chuck you in the deep end. So we will make sure you have a good understanding of Sikh beliefs as a whole before we look at more complex topics. So don't worry about that. We will be there to guide you. This is a topic on feminism and Sikhism. For me, this is one of my favourite topics, again, because it encourages a lot of debate. So we look at the role of women in Sikhism, and we look at scripture and what it talks about in terms of equality and the oneness of humanity in Sikhism. So again, a topic that students generally find very interesting. In terms of extracurricular opportunities, if you want to get more involved in the wider school life, which we hope you do, there are trips that we've gone on in the past, and we're hoping to organise again once we can, obviously, with what's going on at the moment. So this was a trip. You can see photos here that Mr. Rua and Miss Ladder took students on to Rome last year. And it involved going to places like the Sistine Chapel and looking at different landmarks in Rome and thinking about their cultural and religious importance. So this was an amazing trip, and I know students came back and they really loved their trip. So that's the sort of things that we can try and arrange. We like to take you to see different philosophers. So we took students a couple of years ago to see Peter Singer, who is a famous philosopher that you actually study in philosophy. And we think it's really important to be able to hear different people's perspectives. So we try and arrange lectures. Obviously, it's a little bit tricky at the moment. It may be that we have to arrange them virtually via like Zoom, like I'm doing now. But it's something that we think is important. If you would like to know more about getting involved with assemblies and just the wider sort of festivals and things that we celebrate as a whole school, Miss Ladder is Director of Faith, and she would definitely love to hear from you. So if you decide to take RS, or even if you don't take RS, you are always welcome to discuss that more with myself and Miss Ladder. So where can RS take you in the future? I think that there is sometimes a bit of a stereotype or a bit of a misunderstanding that RS just leads you to being a priest, and that's not necessarily true, or being a religious leader. Lots of people that study RS go into many different sectors. I am a teacher, but I've decided to be a teacher, but a lot of students that I studied with at university have gone on to do things like law, journalism, publishing, editing, community work. So there's a lot of careers that RS can be beneficial in terms of helping you develop transferable skills for those roles. So a lot of employers like RS because it teaches you how to understand people that are different to you. But also, like I said, it gives you strong communication skills because you have to articulate your ideas. And it also gives you good essay writing. So a really good understanding of English language and how to write a good essay. And in many jobs, you will have to write, largely you will have to do some writing. So it does benefit you in terms of writing and also just general communication skills with different people. So I would say that please don't think RS is just a course that you do if you want to go into being a religious leader. Yes, it would help with that, but there are so many other jobs that value RS. In terms of further study at university, lots of our students have gone on to study lots of different courses at university. So we've had students that have gone on to study law, we've had students gone on to study history, philosophy, politics, so many courses linked to RS. What I would say is anything that involves essay writing is going to complement RS, and RS will help you towards that. So anything like sociology as well, or anthropology or psychology, a lot of these subjects involve critical thinking and essay writing. So RS can be very useful in terms of future opportunities. What we expect from you, well, we expect you to show our school virtues, and in particular, we expect you to show these 4 virtues, I would say, are really important. So, resilience. The A levels are hard. There is a big step up from GCSE to A level, and it will involve some difficult times in terms of your own research and independent study. Whilst we will help you as much as we can, we expect you to be independent and we expect you to be responsible for your learning as well. So I would say that you need to be resilient and also ask for help. Please don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it. I would also say to be enthusiastic, come to lessons, wanting to contribute ideas, because it's not a subject where you can sit back. It does involve everybody sharing their ideas. So being enthusiastic is an important thing that we would expect. And lastly, just be determined and show diligence, complete the essays that we set you on time. We will make sure we never set you an unmanageable amount of work. We understand you have other subjects that you're studying. So we will give you normally about an essay a week to work on, and we will guide you and help you plan those essays as well. Okay. Student perceptions of RS. So I've spoken to some of my year 12 and year 13 students over the last week or so, and just asked their thoughts, their honest thoughts about RS. I do think that a lot of students will say that yes, it is a complex course and it does involve independent work. But on a positive side, there's so many good things that students love about RS. So it helps us understand the world that we all share. It helps us think about wider issues in society and helps us think about different people's perspectives. So that was our year 12 students. We've only got a small class of year 12 students this year, but they've really been able to discuss their ideas and look at issues in society, which I know they've enjoyed. In year 13, students have said that it helps them to write essays effectively, it's helped them debate ideas, and it's helped them to develop empathy for other people's viewpoints, which I think is really important. Helps you to understand why people are not the same as you and why they might have different views. Okay. In terms of the qualification details, so this A level is examined at the end of year 13. So we don't have any coursework and we don't have any external exams in year 12. So there is no AS qualification. So you will have mock exams in year 12 and we will regularly give you timed essays, but you don't have any actual exams that we assess you on until the end of year 13, in terms of that will be your final grade. And they are 2-hour exams and you have one for each paper. So one for philosophy, one for ethics, and one for Sikhism. Okay. And each exam will have 3 sections in the exam, and it will involve essay writing throughout the exam. Okay, so you're basically assessed on your ability to write good essays and communicate your ideas. So that's the details in terms of qualifications. If you have got any questions, I know I'm whizzing through this, so if you do have questions, please do email me. The last thing I want to talk to you about is preparing for RS. So if you do decide to take it, which I really hope you do, we would love to have more students taking it. So if you do, we strongly recommend that you get a few of the books to help you prepare, just in terms of reading a little bit and just understanding what the topics are going to cover. So being a bit more confident. So there are 2 books in particular we would say you have to get prior to starting, and they are both edXL textbooks written for students. So they are student guides, and they are philosophy of religion and religion and ethics, and you can find them on Amazon for about £10, and they cover everything in those 2 papers. So we really recommend you getting those just to have to prepare for the topics. In terms of Sikhism, unfortunately, edXL have not made a Sikhism book yet, which is a real shame. I think they're in the process of making them, but I can't give you a date to when we'll have that. But what we do have is loads of books that Edexcel have recommended that students use to help them alongside the topics. So one of those books is An Introduction to Sikhism, or Sikhism an Introduction, sorry, by Nikki Ganinda Kaur Singh. And this is really an overview of Sikh history and Sikh teachings. So it's a really useful book, and we do look at it in lessons. So I recommend getting that one. And there's also one by Owen Cole and Louis Fenwick. And again, we look at those chapters from those books in our lessons. So if you can try and get those 3 to start off with, there will be others that we look at throughout the A level. Okay, so that's it from me, really. So I will leave it there. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope that I have persuaded some of you to take RS. It's a really valuable subject, and it's something that I am so glad that I chose to study at A level. So I hope that some of you do want to take it. And if I haven't answered any questions that you have, please feel free to drop me an email anytime. Okay, thank you very much for listening. Goodbye. Thank you.